come into this now. Time for our final look at the economic week ahead for this year. Econometrix Chief Economist Dr. Azar Jammine joins us now, of course, to look at what's happening in the economy front. Dr. Jammine, thank you for your time. Always a pleasure talking to you. Obviously, the Phala Phala saga having a huge impact, not only politically, but also economically. How would you rate the impact, though, on the rand?
Certainly, the impact on the rand last week was fairly dramatic. Funnily enough, the rand had appreciated in the first part of the week because of expectations that the US central bank might not have to raise interest rates quite as sharply as previously anticipated. And as a consequence, the attractions of the dollar fell somewhat, and the US unit's value against the rand depreciated. And at one point, the rand fell below 17 to the dollar. Then along came the independent report on the Phala Phala scandal and the damning suggestions that the president may have violated the constitution. And within next to no time, the rand lost 3% plus of its value, and at one point reached almost 18 rand to the dollar. In fact, its value against the likes of the euro and the pound fell even more sharply because the dollar itself had weakened. And now, if that is sustained, it'll lead to higher inflation and result in the South African Reserve Bank raising interest rates by more than would otherwise have been the case. Long-term interest rates also rose, which means that government's borrowing requirement increases, making it essential for government to divert funds towards paying interest rather than towards educating the population or improving healthcare or improving policing of the country and other such vital social services.
Right.
So what we see this morning, interestingly, is that the rand seems to have rallied a little on suggestions that the president will not step down and will take the independent report on judicial review. And that is a clear indication that the markets do not want the president to stand down.
And while that is happening, we know that tomorrow status says, well, DOC will release the gross domestic product quarter 3 2022 stats. In your opinion, do you think it will reflect on the impact that blackouts, load shedding have had on the economy?
Unfortunately, the third quarter figures are going to be somewhat distorted because they will be compared in terms of growth with the second quarter, where the KwaZulu-Natal floods had a devastating effect in depressing economic activity. And so on a quarter-on-quarter basis, you may actually see an improvement in the third quarter compared with the second quarter. But that is a bit misleading. And the fact is that the third quarter figures will have been a lot weaker still, even though they might improve. They will be a lot weaker still than they would have been in the absence of all those blackouts.
Yeah. And just lastly, before I let you go, I mean, now I was telling Gareth this in the morning that one parent tweeted that because schools are about to close now, she's worried about all the oros being finished inside the house because these kids just eat and eat when they're bored for entertainment. They want to go on vacation. So where's the money? And my question to you is there spare cash this, festive holiday for parents and, vacations or just spending on just the basis such as food?
Judging from what happened on Black Friday, it seems as if cash is being generated for spending purposes. But what we have seen in recent months is that for the first time in about 8-9 years, people are starting to borrow far more to spend. Borrowing levels have been fairly suppressed for many years. Suddenly there's been a pickup, especially unsecured loans through means other than the conventional channels that which banks lend money out. And obviously that is not sustainable in the longer term, but in the shorter term, people are not over borrowed and there is the capacity to borrow a little more to go and spend. So the Christmas spending season may not be quite as weak as one might have expected in light of the big increase in inflation and the rise in interest rates.
All right, we leave it there. Econometrix Chief Economist, Dr. Azar, Jammine, thank you so much for your time this morning, right here on the SA Morning, talking about the impact on the Phala Phala saga. That's still ongoing as the President continues to review that report, the impact on the rand, but also expecting tomorrow's data set to reveal those statistics for the third quarter of 2022 and seeing whether or not blackouts will have or rather reflect an impact on the economy. And also parents buckle up and also just have some spare change to entertain the kids, of course, this coming festive season. Thank you so much to Dr. Azar for his time.